Hey, y'all, you're listening to Diagnosing Sitcoms and Movies, the DSM podcast. We help make mental health more comfortable by using Black movies and shows we know and love and culture to remove stigma. So join our convo with your host, Courtney Copeland, licensed mental health counselor.
And Dr. B, licensed professional counselor.
Hi, everybody.
Hey.
This episode, we are going to be talking about I feel like I say this every episode, but really one of my all-time favorite movies from forever. The 1978 film classic, The Wheel.
The Wizard! He's the wizard! Okay, I'm done. I was waiting for my moment. He's the wizard, he is. Okay, I'm done.
I like it when Miss One say, in Oz. Okay, before we get started, can I ask you, I don't know if this is a cultural question, a familial question.
Okay.
Is The Wiz a Christmas movie?
You know, I thought it was Thanksgiving because of the turkey. And let me just talk about that turkey, because she came out real cute. You know, she wasn't falling off the bone, but she was nice and golden, living this life like
good and basted.
So I
thought it was a Thanksgiving movie too, but my mom, for some reason, has been trying to make us watch The Wiz on Christmas every year. It's not a Christmas movie, Mom. I know you listen to the podcast. We've come to a consensus here at the DSM podcast. It is a Thanksgiving movie.
Agreed. And so we need to adjust it just by a couple of days. 30 days, and bam.
But who's counting? Neither here nor there. It's a Thanksgiving movie, Mom. It is not a Christmas movie.
Yeah, but then
I'm glad that's been settled. So we've digressed long enough. Rosie, what are some of your absolute quotables from this movie?
He's a wizard! I love it. That's the best song ever. Maybe because of how I sing it, and I sing it obnoxiously. That's why that's my quotable, especially in the beginning. So I have a confession.
Okay.
I was like, yeah, I've seen The Wiz, and I'm playing it based off of memory in my head. And I'm like, yeah, Dorothy and, whoever and whoever. And then I realized there is no beginning and there's no end, Rosie. So I watched the movie again because I had to watch the movie again. And I realized that I cut out, as a child, I cut out the beginning and the end because they scared me.
Let's unpack that. What do you mean?
When the graffiti kids came off the wall.
The Munchkins?
Girl, I said, no. That did not happen. I don't like it.
Okay, so that's one of my favorite parts. And did you know that the graffiti kids, those were really just those were the kids that were playing at the park, because Evermean was the parks department commissioner. And she didn't like it that the kids were out there playing. So flat, and stuck like that is how she had the kids.
Exactly. And so that's another quotable.
That's some evil shit. You take all of the park kids and you make them into graffiti?
You just move them, put them against the wall, splat. I'm going to throw a kid and he's just going to stay there.
flat, and stuck like that. Well, to come to your aid, you're not the only one. Dorothy was terrified. No!
I was so scared. I was like, girl, you get scared. She over there looking. I would have been like, get the hell out the sandbox. You're just chilling. They coming closer. And I'm like, run. Why are you just sitting there? So as a kid, I was like, nope, delete. That's not in your memory. Done. And so when I watched it again, I realized how much I love the Numbers Witch. And
Miss One is her name.
Miss One, yes. Miss One.
Who was in real, because everything is an exaggeration of real life in Oz. And so Miss One was the numbers lady, if you picked up on that. We can all get back to running our business. We can all.
Yes.
4, 3, 3. You want to play more than one number today, baby?
I loved it. And so that to me was the best. And then, don't you bring me no bad news.
You can't be my best of friends as opposed to paying dues. But don't nobody bring me no bad news. Well, no bad news. No bad news. No bad news.
We have to dig deep into that little one.
Don't you bring me. I was like, but can that be my anthem? No, don't you bring me no. Listen, 2020, 2021 at the beginning, y'all trying to bring bad news. Don't you bring me no bad news. I'm sick of it. That's where I'm at right now. So I relate to her in that way, but she did kind of scare me as a kid. And so hence I cut that part of the movie out.
Girl, you cut half the movie. What was left in your memory?
The middle. That's it. And so
all they did was ease on down the road and let you tell it.
And that was the easy part. Okay. So that's why it stayed. I compartmentalized my trauma, and that is how I was able to survive to this point. Now, I'm not saying it's the healthiest thing, but it's how I did it. Okay.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is that you really were able to identify with Dorothy and feel empathy with her. Put yourself in her silver slippers.
Yeah. Yes.
And so everything that terrified Dorothy terrified you.
You better read it.
So what I'm hearing you saying is...
Yes, that was a whole session using a movie. It
can't be done, guys. One of my quotables is when the Cowardly Lion, when they're down in the subway, he said...
My mama used to always say to me, Fleet.
And they all go, Fleet.
Fleet. That's my name. Fleetwood Coopville.
Yes.
Mama had high ideas.
Yes.
I love the Cowardly Lion. I don't know if because my hair looked like his through all of my young childhood. So I started getting perms, but I just love the Cowardly Lion.
I'm a mean old lion.
You know what it was? It was the fur boots for me.
Ooh, with the heel?
With the heel.
With the heel?
I was like, I've never, ever noticed he actually had a heel on that boot.
He had a heel on his hoof. His paw, rather. Only a mean old lion will have a heel on his paw.
Because I'm a mean old lion.
Oh. Okay, all right. As you were.
Okay, and then my last one is
bruh, I was like, I'm going to want to fake cry like this for the rest of my life.
Forever. Anytime me and especially my aunt, when we talk about somebody crying and crying hard.
Teeny.
Yes, I love it.
Okay, so The Wiz is the 1978 American musical adventure fantasy film, loosely based on The Wizard of Oz. I feel like basically in our community, it's known as The Black Wizard of Oz, produced by Rob Cohen, but basically it was Berry Gordy's movie. And there's so much tea behind the characters and how they got placed. So I just wanted to mention on that a little bit because that there was the stage play, The Wiz, and it was, the musical, and Stephanie Mills was Dorothy. Now, I don't know if you know this or not, Stephanie Mills was in a long-term, strong relationship with Michael Jackson, with Black Michael. Yeah, they was in love. She said, I was Mrs. Jackson. You let me tell it.
Ooh. And
she was washing clothes and whatnot. She might as well have been. And
when you wash the drawers, that's when your wife involved.
I mean, that was beautiful. I'm using that. Oh, that was great. I loved
it. I made it up.
Oh, that's going to be our first t-shirt. Anywho. And so Berry Gordy didn't necessarily like Michael being with Stephanie Mills because, you know, Michael was a part of the Motown machine. Okay, so Stephanie Mills didn't like playing the game. She was like, I'm not going to dinner with such and such because I don't care. Like, I'm not a puppet. And, you know, Michael was Barry's puppet. And so Michael was like, oh, you know, Stephanie, you know, we have to, and she wasn't with it. So yeah, I did the light voice for Michael. You know, it came out like that. I got my Michael Jackson ponytail today too. You know, it's the whole thing. I believe there's no fact, but I believe that's why he was so adamant about Diana Ross, not Stephanie Mills, being in the film adaptation of the movie. And then, of course, we all know that him and Diana was messing and he was controlling her career. And so he wanted her in the movie, she was going to be in the movie. But I really feel like that's why Stephanie Mills was not Diana Ross. Because she didn't want to play the game.
The tea, honey. The industry is just so shady.
And so I just wanted to take a second and shout out Stephanie Mills for being solid, being a real one.
Being the original Dorothy, the OG.
So when I was a kid, I used to think that the Cowardly Lion was, the Mino Lion was played by Reginald Bell Johnson, the dad from Urkel. I thought that was him.
Really?
And I thought the dad from Moesha was Nipsey Russell.
Because of the hairline?
Because of the hairline.
Because, you know, Frank had that, that drum was
It wasn't until I got to my tween years that I realized that those weren't all the same people. That was for point of reference.
You know, good thing you were just a kid. You were a kid.
What did I know?
Exactly. You didn't know no better. Not because of the hairline, though.
All right. So we'll get into diagnosis. Let's just hit it hard.
Okay.
Let's ease on down this yellow brick road and start heavy. But can we pause? Can we take a detour? And the fact that the people in Oz, that they was hoes. Remember when they threw the stuff on them? That was basically them getting high because the hoes threw the drugs on them. And that's how they got high. And then they got loopy and they passed out.
Yeah.
I said, this took a dark turn. Did they go to Studio 54? What is happening here?
Yeah, I was like, that was a moment for me where I was like, I don't understand. And I was like, okay, maybe they're trying to get the Black experience, you know, and highlight the Black experience, the Black culture. And then I'm like, how?
No, girl, they hit the whole stroll and they got high. They got Toto high too. You know what? Let's
Toto was a brick. Toto was like this. He was stiff. I said that was good acting. That was the best acting. You know, Toto needed an award for that. He was stiff.
We need to do our own awards. We need to do the DSM movie awards.
Toto, yes, we do. We really should. And Toto gets best actor in this film.
Best animal actor.
He was with her, but you know, at the same time, he's also the reason why she ended up in Oz. So, you know, friends, I don't know if he deserves the award after all.
But she needed that trip.
She did.
She owes her whole future life and career to Toto.
Look at you doing it again. You better be making the connections.
Speaking of Dorothy.
Yes.
And some of the questionable decisions that she made all throughout the movie, I diagnosed her with derealization disorder.
Tell the friends about it.
Okay. So because we're not sure exactly if Oz is like a weird dream sequence, if it's a bad acid trip, or if she really physically goes to Oz, I gave her that diagnosis. It is the experiences of unreality or detachment with respect to surroundings, that can be with individuals or objects are experienced as unreal, dreamlike, foggy, lifeless, or visually oriented. During the depersonalization or derealization experience, reality testing remains intact. So she felt like she was really in that experience, whether she was really there or not, or just lost on Prospect Place or wherever she said she lived.
I'm thinking, because she came back in the snow with the dog and her jacket on and ran up the stairs. We didn't see what happened after that. But so yeah, okay. Well, I was thinking more so separation anxiety disorder for Dorothy.
Tell me more.
So it says for the diagnostic criteria, it says developmentally inappropriate and excessive fear or anxiety concerning separation from those whom the individual is attached, as evidenced by at least 3 of the following. So reoccurring excessive distress when anticipating experiencing separation from the home. And so that made me think about the fact that when she was talking, she was like, what was her aunt's name? You better with name.
Auntie M.
Auntie M. And so when Auntie M said, you haven't even been past whatever street, she said, just, kind of the vibe that it's given even during that opening scene with them singing together as a family, and everyone knew their notes. It was great. I was like, oh, they're telling her, it's okay to go and venture out. You're going to have to grow. And then even Aunt M really saying, well, I have to accept that you all are growing and let you all be free and be who you are. So that's why I said that she's experiencing separation from the home. And then for persistent excessive worry about losing major attachment figures, again, as far as like possible harm to themselves. And so I think she maybe feeling like she can't be alone. Persistent excessive fear of reluctance about being alone or without major attachment figures. So the reluctance of her wanting to leave or even just run and go and find Oz. Like she had a moment where I'm just scared, I'm afraid. But guess what? And I think also in this moment for her, she realizes I can't get out of here unless I leave this spot. That's why I gave her separation anxiety disorder.
I think both can exist, especially in her real life. The separation anxiety was there. And I think that is the reason that Toto led her to Oz, because Toto's clearly the hero in the movie. That's the reason why Toto led her to Oz. And she had the derealization experience. And then she's coming back, possibly having worked through that issue with separation anxiety. And it's often more so with parental figures. But I think because she was living with Auntie M, we don't know the situation there, if Auntie M raised her or if that was basically her parental figure, if that was who she had, then that could be that issue. I know Auntie M was ready for her and Uncle to have a house by themselves, though, because that's basically why she was like, girl, you got to get this other job so you can get up out of here. Me and Uncle retire. We won't walk around the house naked. You and Toto always here. Y'all got to go.
We don't know her relationship with her, but I do want to know that as far as the prevalence of separation anxiety, it is typically seen between children younger than 12 years of age. But I think it is worth noting, that it still can be experienced at an adult level. And that's why I would give her this diagnosis, but I don't know.
I think what it could be, we could dig deeper and assume some history there is an insecure attachment style based on the fact that maybe she lost her parents, or maybe there is a situation where she couldn't be with her parents. And so that removal of those parental figures caused her to cling on to the family that she did have. Causing her not to want to leave. And that could also be she could have lost them very young. And that's maybe why she wants to continue to work at the elementary school and not work with older kids, because she's still going through that unresolved trauma within herself, where that is the age that she hasn't developed past, because of that might be when the experience happened. I'm assuming a lot. And so this is why it's always important to have a comprehensive assessment of what goes on with your clients so that you can know the back history of exactly what happened.
Yeah, because then also when you look at the cultural related diagnostic issues, and so these are sections that are usually listed after the diagnosis and the description and criteria. And so it does give you information and things to consider before giving the diagnosis. And so one of those is the cultural related variations in the degree in which can be considerable desirable to tolerate separation. And then also it's important to differentiate separation anxiety from a high value that may be in some cultures, right? So maybe in some cultures, it is appropriate for an individual to be home as caretaker, or maybe there is a strong interdependence among family members. And so it's important to note that culturally. And then even when you were mentioning your diagnosis, I was thinking like, culturally, in some cases, hallucinations can be seen as a spiritual gift. And so like her having this experience would be technically seen in some cultures as an awakening or like a vision.
An enlightenment.
Right. And so those are things to consider, especially when diagnosing individuals as well, cultural nuances.
Which is why part of the reason why we even did this show from the beginning is like, the DSM, yes, we use it. It's in the name of the show because it is the tool that clinicians use to diagnose. However, we want to bring light to the fact that it is not culturally sound. It does not represent all cultures. So these might be the diagnoses that are placed upon people, that are given out, or even collaborated and built upon with a client. However, it is very difficult to separate the cultural experience that happens with people from these diagnoses. And so while you and your clinician may have a good relationship and you see that as a gift and you express to them, no, in my culture, I feel like I have the gift, I have this extra ability, they still might have to diagnose you. And so this is the tool that they will be using when that happens. I also wanted to
do this.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, do you, girl.
But then I also think that's why it's so important for us to find counselors that are culturally competent or have experience with diverse populations to understand that as well, and not to take that into consideration when they're doing their diagnosis. So just like you shop around for a car or you shop around for a dentist, you want to shop around for your counselor. You want to make sure that there's some type of rapport.
It's like dating.
Yeah, it's like dating. And so that's why you want to do that, because if you do bring up, hey, I have visions, you want to be sure that your counselor, your therapist are, culturally aware or inept to understand, okay, this is going to be a part of your treatment plan, or this is going to be a part of your journey. And so those are things to consider when seeking out therapy as well. Sorry, Courtney, what were you saying?
No, you're completely right, because it will change what your treatment will look like. If you have visions, is this a strength that we can use? Is your spirituality something that we can use during therapy and work with together? Or are the voices in your head telling you to do something? Like it depends on how it really dictates. Your cultural competency is going to dictate what that treatment is going to look like for that individual. And so it is very important that you do have a culturally competent counselor, that you have someone that you're comfortable with. And if the first person isn't a fit, please don't be discouraged. Continue to look until you find what it is that works for you.
Also, therapists, don't be discouraged if that client isn't a good fit for you, and be understanding and know your limits and where you are culturally. Recognize them, educate yourself, but don't always feel like because someone is presenting in a certain way that you have to diagnose it or you have to take on that case. If you're not equipped or trained to work with an individual that's presenting in a certain manner, it's okay to accept that and say, hey, you know what? I don't know if we're a good fit, but I have this recommendation or a referral to another counselor. This is someone you should consider. So just a heads up for therapists as well.
Amen. And I just want to highlight how angry Dorothy was when she realized all she had to do was click her heels. She said, you mean I could have went home this whole time just by clicking my heels 3 times?
But see, and then here's the thing. I feel like all of those characters were pretty much like Dorothy. They were parts of her. Mm-hmm. So she couldn't have if she hadn't realized those parts
didn't
of
go
her.
Through the journey.
Exactly. So we have the answers to get out of the situations that we're in. But then sometimes you have to go through the journey in order for you to learn something about yourself or to discover something from that journey that is meant for you. But so if you just apply the solution, then what are you going to learn? If she had just clicked her heels, we wouldn't have had the whiz.
Exactly. Facts. And I think that's highlighted in her final song, Home, which low-key makes me cry because I'm a crybaby. It touches my spirit in a special way. She says this might be a fantasy, but it taught me to love, so it's real. And I think that sometimes we want the end result. A lot of times we want the end result without having to go through the journey. And the journey is necessary. So I'm glad that she learned to appreciate it while she was mad. Like, I could have went home this whole time, but then she turned around and sang her song, and it was everything to the pioneer, the legend, the queen, the goddess, the all hail the throne, the everything, the icon, Lena Horne.
Yes,
sung her song and let her know this is all you got to do to go home, baby. You've arrived.
She said,
everything you needed, it was inside of you already. You already had it because all of the tools, all of the gifts, all of the power is inside of you.
And yes, I'm sorry.
You know that the choir, was it the choir? Somebody sang that song at our graduation.
Really?
At our undergrad, we graduated the same year, undergrad. You was there.
I was hungover.
Oh, okay. Well, somebody sang that song. And I was trying so hard not to cry. You know, I'm a crybaby. I was like, I'm not gonna be no bitch. Suck that tear back in.
Yes, that was a beautiful song. But I also was disturbed by the little star babies and they snowsuits in the background. Like, why we had the star babies in the snowsuits?
Because it's New York. You put your baby in a snowsuit. They outside, they need to be in a snowsuit.
And you know, every baby, they're not warm enough if their arms and legs do not stretch out in a star shape, friends. Your baby not warm enough.
They're not secure.
Not secure.
Okay, so moving on to the Scarecrow. Michael Jackson as the Scarecrow. And that Reese cup cover on his nose.
Okay, so I went several places while I was like, okay, Michael Jackson, you hated your nose that bad. You wanted them to put that Reese cup cover on your nose. I was like, come on now. And so I'm like, it started there. That's where it started. Right in that moment when he put that Reese cup on his nose. He was like,
I've never thought about it that way.
Taken off.
Never thought about it that way.
I went there this time when I watched it.
Yeah. I'm greedy. So I was like, ooh, I love Reese cups.
So what did you have as a diagnosis for Reese's Cup Nose Man?
Not Reese Cup Nose Man. I absolutely loved his voice in this movie.
I gotta sing that thing again.
All of the songs that you can't win, child.
You can win, child. You can't win, child. You can't break even. You can't get out of the game. You can win.
Like, oh, I love it.
Yes, that is the best song. Can't get out of the game.
I promised myself I wasn't going to sing during this episode, but it's so hard.
And I just want to do the Crows dance routine. Like, yeah, they was getting it.
Yo, the costuming. Whoever did the costuming on this movie, they deserved an Oscar.
Yes.
They deserved an Oscar.
Yes, they did.
They another one. When we do our our DSM Oscars, the Grouches, we'll have to give them an award. Okay, so I diagnosed Scarecrow with dependent personality disorder. And I think the quote that best goes with that to explain that diagnosis would be when Dorothy, when he fell on the ground and Dorothy told him, you just a product of some negative thinking. They told you you couldn't do it and you believed them. Mm-hmm. And I feel like we've all been in that spot where somebody, the negative stuff is always harder to believe. People could tell you you're great every day, but if one person tells you you can't do it.
That's it. You hold on to that for dear life. Yeah.
And he had all them crows, brother crows, telling him he couldn't do it for so long.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the criteria for dependent personality disorder is that I feel that he fits is having difficulty making everyday decisions without an excessive amount of advice and reassurance from others. He basically went to go see the Wiz because Dorothy was like, he could get you some brains. The fact that they said some brains, it bothered me. We're going to get the Scarecrow some brains. Needs others to assume responsibility for most major areas of his or her life. And basically, he went from the crows to Dorothy. The crows were responsible for his life, and then that was over. And so then Dorothy assumed that responsibility. Has difficulty expressing disagreement with others because of fear of loss of support or approval. The crows kept him up there, and he agreed to it. Him whole life. Has difficulty initiating projects or doing things on his or her own because of a lack of self-confidence and judgment or abilities rather than lack of motivation or energy. He felt like he didn't have a brain, so he couldn't do nothing. And that really hurt his self-confidence. I'm going to stop saying him. That really hurt his self-confidence. I just feel so bad for Scarecrow. And then lastly, goes to excessive lengths to obtain nurturance and support from others to the point of volunteering to do things that are unpleasant. Don't worry, Dorothy. It's just a little rough on my filing system. Scarecrow, they're literally sawing you in half.
Well, I mean, he can't feel it. That's what he said.
He had feelings. He didn't have a brain.
He could feel him saw in half. He all right.
So that was my diagnosis for Scarecrow. What say you?
So I was thinking it's a combination of major depressive disorder and anxiety. So I think more so anxiety than major depressive disorder. All right, let me look at major depressive, and I might just stick with major depressive. So I'm thinking depressed mood, feel sad, empty, hopeless. So, I mean, obviously that was his whole thing. He felt hopeless, you can't win, right? Then diminished interest or pleasure in all or most activities. So he may have had interest of getting down, but it diminished more. And instead of the scarecrows being people, I see the scarecrows being thoughts or like, and, you know, sometimes it may not be people, it's really ourselves that get in our way. And so like the negative or the negative language or the stinking thinking that we do.
You better use that theory.
I know, right? So like cognitive, so that in theory, cognitive behavioral theory would be a perfect tool or a technique to use for the scarecrow because it really was this thought process that attributed to his behavior. So the scarecrows were his thoughts, which then turned into his behavior of feeling stuck or his stuckness. And therefore, he never moved. He never got down. And so that's why
I completely agree with the way that you're conceptualizing that. I just don't see how it fits solely to that diagnosis, though.
Okay, so maybe not so much depressive. And then I'm also thinking my experience with depression, right? And so that's why I'm like kind of in between depression and anxiety. Well, and it's like a cycle, if you will. Like sometimes depression and anxiety seem to go hand in hand because the anxiety causes you to lose interest, that causes you to sleep more or to have an increase or decrease in appetite. But the anxiety is, I tell my clients, anxiety is a natural part of living. It's like the human experience, right?
It protects you.
It protects you,
healthy
right?
levels protect you.
Exactly.
Unhealthy levels debilitate you.
Exactly. And so that's why, again, I feel like that approach with that diagnosis of anxiety is why it's appropriate for Scarecrow. But then there's still certain parts of depression that still applies to Scarecrow. And so the reason why I said the two is more so like that thought process, the reoccurring thoughts, the negative thoughts, the excessive worry of, oh, what if I do get down? What is out there for me? What if I do get down? I might get hurt, you know? And so that actually added to that sense of hopelessness with depression. So I think it's like he could have both diagnoses similar to me. I feel like sometimes I could be like a scarecrow. I could be like Scarecrow.
That's who you identify with?
in a way, like out of everyone in the movie, I identified with him.
You can't win, Rosie.
You can't win.
You have lots of brains. You have more than just some brains. You got lots of brains.
It's so funny because it's like, really, for him, it's like that. And that's the part with anxiety and the part of really being able to take yourself out of that dark place. Like how I would describe anxiety and depression for me is like, I'm doing great. I'm walking and then I fall into this hole and it's a dark hole and it comes out of nowhere. Like that's sometimes how depression feels. Like it comes out of nowhere. Anxiety is still there. And some days I'm like, okay, whatever, girl, shut up. I call my anxiety little bitch. I'd be like, shut up, little bitch. And so sometimes she go away and she don't come back for a while because she don't like being called little bitch. But then some days she come back and be like, nah, you the little bitch. And I'd be like, And so anyway, I feel like depression and anxiety is like I fall into this hole and I'm trying to get out. And then the scarecrows are like, you can't win. Or like, you can't get out. And I'm like, but I
So Scarecrow couldn't get down and you can't get out. Okay, so I appreciate this conceptualization and this comparing contrast that you've done with yourself and Scarecrow. However, Scarecrow is not you. So I will give you depression. Yes, I will give you depression for Scarecrow. I will take away anxiety. While they often are coupled together, I think that for him, we could do depression and the personality disorder together because I think the personality disorder explains some of the things that you were seeing as anxiety when you're over-identifying with the client.
Wait, first of all, I didn't realize Scarecrow was my client. He's not my client.
I love you, but I might have a little, I always get it confused. Is it transference or counter-transference?
Counter-transference.
Yeah, we have a little bit too much counter-transference. And so...
Look, and what that means is that I see a little too much of myself in my clients, so I may overly do things. I may go out of my way, or I may associate certain behaviors or things similar to myself rather than looking at it from the client's perspective, which can be a problem when you're actually working in therapy. You don't want to label them or put your own perceptions or your issues onto the client because that clouds your judgment and your ability to look at the situation objectively.
What she said. Moving on to Tin Man. Yo, when they opened up his chest, hello. Nobody home in Soulville.
Aww, poor Tin Man.
His song was fire too. And got sampled by Joel Santana. What would I do?
Yeah.
And then it turned into a bop at the end and he was tap dancing to it. Like,
He so did. See, and that's why I said that the characters, like, you know, of the Wiz are a part of Dorothy's personality because, you might feel like you can't win. And then you might feel like, damn, my heart is so broken. I don't even want love. And then you feel, it just be layers of that.
Do you feel like it's Dorothy's experience or they are representations of the Black experience?
I see what you're doing. I like it. It might be. It might be.
And even his song, it started off as a sad in the blues. And then that man said, slide some oil to, like, and then it turned into a bop and he started tap dancing. Like, I think it's a representation of the Black experience. Sometimes we don't have no feelings. We have to take the feelings out because we so hurt. And his relationship with Teenie is how sometimes Black relationships and Black love can be troubled. Yes, because of the oppression put upon us from the system designed to tear us apart and make us enemies instead of partners. And all he wanted to do was love Teenie. But he loved her because that's real. Black women come in all shades, all shapes, and all sizes. And Black men love us in each shape, shade, and size you could find. It's going to, whatever you think about somebody, it is some man out there that is loving the hell out of her.
Mm-hmm.
Back to the subject at hand. I diagnosed Tim Man with somatic symptom disorder.
Tell us about it, friend.
Yes, because I really struggled because his is a whole lack of feeling. And so much of what we do is based upon feeling and emotions. And so I finally settled on somatic symptom disorder, which is one or more somatic symptoms, which basically means like physical or like medical. The word somatic. So one or more somatic symptoms that are distressing or result in significant disruption of daily life. Him not having a physical heart was creating the disruption in his life. With excessive thoughts or feelings or behaviors related to the somatic symptom or associated health concern as manifested by disproportionate and persistent thoughts about the seriousness of his symptoms. So he really felt like this was like, what would I do if I could feel? Like he said in his song, persistently high level of anxiety about the health concern or symptoms. And so because he didn't have heart, he felt he ended up in the relationship that he was in with Teenie and being a seat cushion for Teenie. And then excessive time and energy devoted to these symptoms or health concerns. And I feel like he went to go see The Wiz with a couple of strangers so that he could get a heart.
Yeah, I think I agree. Mm-hmm. It was really hard for me to try to come up with a diagnosis for him. Yeah. I think I would give the same diagnosis.
We agree. Yay. And then me no lie.
You mean coward?
No, I mean me no lie. Yo, when The Wiz was yelling, it was like, what do you want, you overstuffed animal cracker? And he was like, I want to get the hell out of here.
Oh, overstuffed animal cracker. So what did you give the cowardly lion? I mean, the Mino
lion. I gave him, as you so deeply, profoundly explained and elaborated on earlier, I gave him generalized anxiety disorder, where the individual finds it difficult to control the worry. There's excessive anxiety and worry, apprehension, expectation. And the anxiety and worry are associated with restlessness and feeling keyed up or on edge, difficulty concentrating or mind going blank, which I feel like is what happened. And that was and what do you want? You overstuffed animal cracker. I want to get the hell out of here. Like, I can't even think about courage. I want to get up out of here. My mind went blank. I'm scared again. I got to get out of here. The irritability, which was he didn't want anybody messing with him because he was irritable, and that's why he was a statue. And so when they poked on him, he and came out of the statue. But then also as a defense mechanism to protect himself, I'm being irritable and I'm pushing you guys away so that you can't get close and see that I'm really scared. We also have to talk about his suicide attempt on top of the building.
Yes.
Let me splatter.
I know it. And so that was again a moment where I was like, I don't remember this as a kid. I really didn't remember that part. And then also like, wow, like why did he go to that level or that place after he did such a great job protecting his friends? And then it's like
But that's what he said. He said to do that in the subway station, only to lead us into this situation where they got drugged by the hoes on the hoe stroll. Like
not the hoe stroll.
He had all this experience with what he felt like was his fear not allowing him to be competent at what it was that he was trying to do. And he said, I had this one experience of being courageous and brave in the subway station only to lead us into this situation here. And so it just got to a point where it was too much. that anxiety kicked in, and he heard that over the sense of reason. And so they had to sing that I'm a lion. It's okay.
And I love that song too. I mean, honestly, friends. Okay, I have a confession. Another confession. I have a what's called an inspirational playlist, right? So it's like there's no real genre. I do too. Oh my God, yes. There's no real genre. It's like, what the fuck are you listening to? Like, it will go from like Dolly Parton to like Dolly. Is it Dolly Parton that sings "I Hope You Dance" to Cardi B? I don't know. Living My Best Life. Like, it just goes from that spectrum. It'll go from gospel to Megan Thee Stallion. Like, it's just like, whatever gets me in the mood to pump me up, to get me motivated. And I feel like I need to add this soundtrack to my playlist.
Can I tell you that Brand New Day is literally on my playlist?
Yeah.
On that playlist. Yep.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. Friends, if you don't have a playlist, get into it. Like, I mean, and this playlist has developed from each like difficult stage or like, trying time, because there's just certain music that just speaks to the moment or your soul. And you'd be like, yes, like, this is what I needed today. Like, I need to just hear this over and over again. So get you an inspirational playlist and include this soundtrack on it for starters. You're welcome.
And I think sometimes we always, like, if we're in a sad mood, that's not the time to listen to sad music.
No.
It's going to keep you there.
Yes.
Music really, it is a powerful tool. And sometimes I feel that we rather I want to be able to relate to something instead of I want to use this as a tool to feel better. And we have so many tools at our access, and sometimes we don't use them to their full capabilities. And music is a very powerful tool. So if you are sad, don't listen to sad music. That's not the time to go down with Mary J. That's the time to...
Right. That's when...
Be a lion.
What was one of her songs? Mary J got a good song, a couple good songs that are like no more holleration, toleration type joints.
Holleration in this dancery.
Yes.
Holleration, yes.
Like you sometimes you need a song like that from MJ to come on through. But yeah, she can be.
Yeah, you can feel just fine with Mary J if you're sad. But you are not going down with Mary J if you are sad, because then you just gonna stay down. So
right. So pick your version. Pick from the spectrum of Mary J.
Pick your Mary. Mary is off of all moods. You pick that Mary that is for your day.
That's it.
All right. So I have a couple of characters that I want to diagnose that aren't necessarily main characters in the movie, but we're still very important, very pivotal to the plot of the film.
Mm-hmm. Who that?
Eveline.
What an evil witch.
I can't look at her that way.
Don't bring me no bad news. Why can't you look at her that way?
That was a cry for help. She was depressed. She was suffering from depression. That was a cry for help. She said, when I wake up in the afternoon, which it pleases me to do, that is hypersomnia.
First of all, I enjoy sleeping in. I enjoy a good afternoon sleep in.
She says, I wake up already negative. So don't bring me no bad news. She is deplete of things that bring her, that she is able to receive pleasure from. She was depressed. No bad news was a cry for help. And we was looking at her as the bad person. Dorothy killed her fucking sister.
It was an accident.
And then she stole her shoes and wore them around eyes and eased her ass on down.
She did not steal
with the Scarecrow and the Tin Man. She don't know that she didn't steal them. She didn't know that Mrs. One put them shoes on her foot. She know that she killed her sister. And then when I see you, because I sent my people to go bring you to me, she wanted to have a conversation with her. Let me talk to you. Let me make you hurt how I'm hurting because I'm depressed. Let me make you feel how I feel, but take some things away that you love. And I see you and you got on my sister's shoes. That's like somebody murder your homeboy and wear his chain to the club the next day.
All right, you might got a good point.
If somebody drop a Z on you, and I see them with your shoes on.
Then my shoes, you gonna get them for me? You gonna get their dog?
I'm cutting their homeboy in half. I'm flattening they Tin Man, and I'm making them a hot dog.
With sauerkraut. Busted.
But I feel like oftentimes Black women are not allowed to be depressed. And if your depression doesn't exhibit as just sadness, if your depression presents in a different way, then you a bitch. That woman was hurting. She needed a hug.
And she
created a whole sweatshop because she was in pain and she needed people to feel what she was feeling. Now, granted, it's wrong for you to make other people suffer because you're suffering, but it's a result of us not caring enough about the healing of Black women and getting them the help that they need. You don't care? You don't care?
I care. But I'm just saying, like, she was evil. Let's call it what it is. She was evil.
I mean, the woman's name is Eveline. So yes, she was evil.
Okay.
But she was evil because she was depressed. This could be a long line of hurt women. This could be intergenerational trauma. We don't know.
If that's the case, then
that's why her sister name was Evermean and Eveline.
Right. But then that goes back to, so what happened why were these twin sisters so mean? Was they Mama Meanie mean? Missy mean?
Mama mean.
Then that explain a lot of things, you know what I'm saying? But also, I think it's like kind of tying it to my little moment earlier with 2021 and 2020. It's like, don't bring me no bad news. I think a lot of people are depressed right now. I think there are a lot of people who are like Eveline in that we're angry. Everybody's angry. And it seems like we just want to yell and be angry with each other. We don't want to listen. We don't want to hear or empathize with each other. We want our part to be heard. And if it's not what we want to hear, then you cancel. You're done. And it's just like, damn, can we at least hear the other side? Can we just talk? I feel like just like how made me realize that, like, as Black people, we are Eveline. We angry. You get what I'm saying?
Not all of us are Eveline.
Not all of us are Eveline, but we're angry. We're feeling this depression. And not to mention, it's an added on layer of depression and social disconnection from the people that we need. I feel like right now, a lot of the racial tension that's there is because we're angry and we're not allowed to express it. And then, you know, our counterpart feel as if, oh, you're attacking us. And they get defensive and then they get angry. And so everybody...
Because they scared. They're a bunch of punks. That's what that is. The same way that I want healing for us as a community. Eveline dead. She got flushed down the toilet. I don't know why her thumb was the toilet. But that's what it looked like. It sound like a flush and then the lid closed, right?
Lid closed.
So she got flushed down the toilet. So there's no prognosis for her. The same way that I want healing for our community, I would have wanted healing for Eveline.
Absolutely.
And I feel like because Eveline was a dark-skinned, heavy-set, ugly woman, she didn't get a chance at somebody saying what happened to you instead of what's wrong with you.
And I think that's the Black experience. And I think instead of white people feeling as if they have to be defensive, for them feeling defensive, it's just like, you know, instead of what's wrong with you, what happened to you? Y'all happened to us. Now listen. That's what
I don't expect them to do right. I have no expectation of them doing right collectively anytime soon. So maybe you as the evangelist could go out there and win a couple of white souls and bring them to some type of peace. But collectively, I don't see it happen no time soon. I can't take stock. I can't wait for them. I can't. So the way I see it is that we have to hug each other. We have to make sure that Eveline is okay. Somebody need to go take her a pie or something. Maybe if her community had embraced her because she had just lost a whole sister. Maybe if she had some community to support her during that time of grief.
But listen, though,
she wouldn't have got flushed down the toilet.
But listen, I also feel like as counselors, it is also our responsibility to send this healing of love, to send this healing of you know, togetherness And we're the ones that have to do this. If we're talking about social justice and advocacy, we also have to send this message with compassion. I mean, where have we gotten with this anger and advocacy? We've been yelling, we've been protesting, we've been blowing shit up, we've been putting shit on fire and had nothing changed. So maybe we need to change how we're doing this. It ain't always us setting the stuff on fire.
And all of that is happening because we're trying to convince them. Forget them. We don't have time to wait on them. But we got to take care of us first. We got to make sure we good first because they are going to take forever. So this is the way I think about it. I think both things can happen at the same time. I think people like you who still have faith in that the goodness in people can I don't know, change their evil way. But I think people like you, people like you should
what make you mean people like me
should make sure that the others can see the humanity in us and stop letting the world kill us. The people like me can make sure that our inner circle is good. It takes all of us to work together. We all have to play our roles. Your role is to go evangelize the racist white people and make them not racist.
No,
I'll be on the inside making sure that that we good first. I'll be, cooking, making sure everybody good so they can go out and fight the good fight. Like I'm gonna take care of the inside while people like you can take care of the outside. It takes all of us to work together. We got to play our part. Okay, so the Wiz, I diagnosed him with avoidant personality disorder. The criteria I felt that he fit was avoiding occupational activities that involve significant interpersonal contact because of fears of criticism, disapproval, or rejection. He had experienced all of those things with his failures in public office. And so then he created the Wiz so that he could be separate from those people and not get that same type of rejection. Shows restraint within intimate relationships because of fear of being shamed or ridiculed, like we said before. And then also is preoccupied with being criticized or rejected in social situations, is inhibited in new interpersonal situations because of feelings of inadequacy, views self as socially inept, personally unappealing, or inferior to others. He even was like, you could make fun of me, call me names, just whatever. He was okay with being treated badly because of the feelings that he had toward himself and because he hadn't been around people in so long. I think after a while, that whole avoidant thing, we as human beings need a certain level of contact and connection with other human beings. And even Dorothy told him when he was like, can you get me home too, Dorothy? She was like, they had what they needed inside of them the whole time. She looked at him and said, I don't know what's inside of you.
Okay, friends, that's a word for you too. Somebody trying to get help from you and they ain't even helping themselves. You ain't got it. You can't win. Trying to help somebody find themselves, okay? Unless you let them do the work for themselves. That's self-work. You can't take that on. I'm glad Dorothy was like, sorry, friend. Leave it to the professionals. Don't do it for your friend.
Amen. So prognosis-wise, I think really the Wiz is the only person who I have a negative prognosis for. Everybody else found what they needed inside them. It carried them forward. They had it. They now can go off and live their lives with that newfound, that new reclaimed ability that they were looking for and searching for. And Dorothy and Toto are going home. And the Wiz is just kind of out here. I mean, Eveline died. So the people at the sweatshop had a brand new day, which was written and sung the opening stanza by Luther Vandross, if you didn't know that.
I didn't. Wow.
So that happens. It's really just the Wiz who just out here.
That's why you got to have your own sense of self to understand like the system and see beyond the facade, to get behind that, because it'll you. It's easy to get caught up in that. You know what I'm saying? Shit, I get caught up in it all the damn time. But it's just
I done tried to be seen in green before.
Cause red is dead. I love the choreography. I mean, the choreography in this movie, just in general, period, is just amazing. It's phenomenal. It also makes me think about A&T, and it makes
Aggie Pride.
Yes, and it makes me think about seeing The Wiz at A&T. I did not see The Wiz at A&T. Our theater department is just phenomenal as well. And they did The Wiz, and I can't believe I didn't see it. It makes me, I think maybe I'm a little bit more saddened by the fact that the arts is going, they're having a hard time during this pandemic because a lot of plays and things aren't happening. And so I guess I felt that compassion for it. And then also realizing that The Wiz was also changed or was redone as a stage play again. And so I was like, man, it brought memories of me realizing, like, I know that The Wiz at A&T was the show to see and never being able to get a chance to see it. And now I'm like, wow, maybe I'll never get a chance. Maybe I shouldn't be so pessimistic, but that's how I feel.
So instead of being pessimistic, let's reframe that and teach it as a lesson for us to always seize the moment. And when we have an opportunity presented to you, making sure that you take that extra step outside of what may be a perceived comfort zone and make sure that you are able to seize whatever moment and every experience, opportunity that is presented to you.
Carpe diem. Seize the day.
That too. All right, so if you would like to support the show to help us get more content out to you all, you can visit our website and follow the Support the Show link to become a Patreon member or donate on our Cash App. Now, we're happy to get the kind of money that jingles, but we'd rather the kind that folds. As always, be sure to follow us on Instagram at the DSM Podcast, and you can subscribe to our show wherever you get podcasts. While you're there, go ahead and leave us a comment because we are counselors and actually care about what you have to say. So until next time, peace.
Okay, bye.